Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me once again. You're most welcome. Well, first of all, just to get the elephant in the room out of the way, if you notice that A, I've got a beard, well, perhaps you haven't tuned into the recent reviews, and B, I've got quite a red face. No, it doesn't mean I've been on the sauce. No, it means a very rare thing happened here in the UK. The sun came out at the weekend and I got absolutely roasted, even though I had a big hat on. But anyway, shows that we had quite a nice Saturday actually. It's very nice here. But now it's gone back to the usual UK gloom. So we need to find something to occupy ourselves with. So how about a review on a trumpeter kit? Ooh, I can hear you wincing. I almost did as well. You may recall a few weeks back we had the Russian Tupolev Bear, and there were some issues with it. Big kit, very, very impressive, but quite expensive, and said it was 2017 on the box, I think it was, and it wasn't 2017 at all. It was basically a tooling from 2003, so I have to be a little bit careful. So I've done a bit of homework on this one to make sure that it does what it says on the tin. Now this one actually says on the box it's 2018, and it's the Tu-128M Fiddler, which is, as the name suggests, that's the NATO name of course, and F means a fighter. I know, it doesn't look like a fighter to me either. It looks like a bomber. It's massive. It's massive. I mean, this is what was going on in the Cold War, of course. A couple of things that were common. A, the Soviets, in common with the Americans actually, they got really obsessed about their fighter interceptors, that they should be not equipped with guns. They stopped having guns on them. This is another classic example. A bit like America did with the Phantom, the F4. Initially it had no gun in it. Same here, got 4 hard points but no guns. So it's designed to really be a high level interceptor to go up and get, you know, intercept the B-52 bombers. Essentially that's what they're into here. But it's a very strange choice of aircraft in terms of design, because, you know, it's huge. I mean, it is the size of a bomber. It's not. That's got to be the same size as the TSR-2, if not a bit bigger. I think it's a bit bigger, fraction, perhaps another 3 or 4 feet at least. It's big. So I don't know what they were playing at, but we've seen that before, didn't we? With the was it the blinder? That was another one that was very strange, like an interceptor, but very odd. Anyway, let's have a closer look and hope, fingers crossed, that this time we're going to be okay in terms of the quality. Now it is 2018 and it was new tooled in 2018, so it is actually a quite new kit. So that bodes well. Let's have a look. So I'm giving a bit of history. Obviously, as I mentioned, there was this thing in the Cold War where, you know, as I say, that they were developing these high-level interceptors, and the Russians seem to be really into this. And it's another aircraft they've produced that's got quite poor visibility for a fighter. You know, I don't know what the ethos was. It's quite a strange choice set they've made. It's fixed wing, not swing wing, and it does look a little bit like the blinder if you ignore the engines, which are more conventionally positioned here. On the blinder, obviously there was 2 engines on the tail, but if you ignore the engines, took the engines off the blinder, it looks quite a lot like it, doesn't it? Anyway, let's have a look. So, bit of blurb on the side, bring you in. Bit of a blurb on the side. I've got the light on here, which is not going to help our visibility. I can assure you that's better. Yeah, having the backlighting, it really throws the camera's exposure control. So we've got a little bit of artwork here, and you can see what I'm talking about, just how massive this thing is. I mean, it's supposed to be a fighter. You know, it's like, it's got to be the length of 3 F-16s. Easy, easy. Anyway, it says the remote weather, I think they mean all weather, interceptor of the Tu-128, developed by the former Soviet Tupolev Design Bureau, is called Salists. Got that right? Salist is the nickname in NATO. Well, I'm not sure where they got that from. I think we're going to ignore some of the right hand side from Trumpeter because I'm not believing any of it already. Let's just ignore that and move on, because that's all wrong. Anyway, as you can see here, it's got this huge profile. It's like it's almost like a Mirage 3 that's been stretched when you see it in the side profile. It's stretched like a piece of chewing gum. It's very strange, isn't it? And it's got a back seat as well. It's quite an unusual aircraft. It wasn't that fast either. It was about Mach. It wasn't Mach 2. It was about Mach 1.7 maximum, I think, and 1.5, I think, typically in level flight. let's see what we got. And I'm really keen this time. Let's just get this out of the way. Some people think I was very harsh on the bear. Other people thought I was too kind to it, so he can't win, can he? But I'm hoping that Trumpeter come up with something really good, because I'm trying to think of a recent Trumpeter one that I've seen that's been good, and one or two that haven't been great. Let's have a look what we got. It looks like we have got, I was going to say resealable bags, but they're not. I have been told to open them, so we'll do that so you can see it properly. I want to get in close and see what modern Trumpeter looks like. As I say, we were a bit deceived, I think, by them with their bear, which is a bit of a shame. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Fingers crossed now, yeah. Let's have a look what we've got. Lots of stuff to look at. I mean, they do make some nice stuff sometimes, so I just think that sometimes they drop the ball. Okay, there we go. Right then. We've got an extra item here, some resin from Armoury Models. A bit puzzled by this because it doesn't look like your usual resin offering, if I'm honest. I think we'll leave that aside and look at it, actually compare it with the parts when we get into them later properly. So, shift all this to one side and get cracking. And see what they can do for us. Now then, I think we're going to open this and have a proper look. So I'll try and do this as subtly as I can. Sometimes they don't give you a lot of room in the bag for some of these items, so let's see how we get on here. So we've got some Soviet stars. Let's have a closer look, because what with the opaque bag and the tissue we can't see much otherwise. Okay, very gentle will be. I'll go crazy with the knife, and we're in. That worked really well. Okay, just unzipped it. Now then. Trumpeter have actually provided you with, they've actually put some tape to hold it on, which I think is a great idea. Don't know why other people don't do that. So that's a plus brownie point for them straight away. What I'll do is I think I'll just nick it at one end only. Like that. And then we can say, look at that. Now they look good. Now somebody was sent me a message a couple of days ago complaining that Trumpeter's decals, get it right, complaining that Trumpeter's decals have a nasty habit of dissolving, especially some of the older ones. So these are 2018. There's no indication to say it's made by anybody else like Cartograph. So I don't know who's actually made them, probably themselves, but they look alright. They look quite nice actually. Perhaps a little bit excessive on the carrier film, just around this the graphic here on the side. Perhaps that wants a little bit of trimming. You see there at the bottom underneath the aircraft logo, it's a bit heavy, but other than that, well, it's true here is actually on the instrumentation as well. I don't know if you can catch that in the light. Whether that'll, yeah, can you see here? Yeah, it's a bit heavy, quite a lot around the outside. You probably want to trim that up a bit, but they do look nice. What I like when they get in water, I'm not quite sure, but on the face of it, they look okay, to be fair. So that's quite a decent start. Fingers crossed that that continues now then. We've then got some blurb. They've offered us some blurb here about other products they've got. German Panther G early version. And some of their armour kits are not bad actually from what I can gather. I've not actually had one myself, but I hear they're okay. Here's the Fiddler that we're just about to review. It's right there, look. And it's got it's got photo etch in it and all sorts of goodies. Underwing pylons. And then we've got some T-34 tanks in 72nd scale. And then various other bits that we're not very interested in. So we'll move on from that. And we shall have a look at the destructions. Now, typical sort of Chinese in that they don't give you much information about the plane. There's no history or anything, which is unfortunate. But never mind. Let's have a look what we got. So, it starts off with the sprue trees all clearly marked out, which is okay. And then we're straight into building your undercarriage, and starts with the nose leg, which as you can see is quite a beefy looking thing. I imagine it needs to be on this plane because I read it was 43 tons weight, this aircraft. That must be the heaviest fighter in history. And I think it actually said that I think if you look on Wikipedia, I think it says it's the heaviest fighter plane of all time. 43 tons. I mean, it's like a blooming tank. Literally, yeah. What does a Sherman weigh? I don't think a Sherman weighs that much, does it? Don't think so. Anyway, we digress. So we're going to build up your front nose leg here. Then you've got your supporting hydraulics, operating arms, putting it into your bay. Then you've got your seats coming in here, ejector seats, which look quite good if they're as good as they show. Then we've got some these control panels, and of course we talked about you've got to put those decals on to create the instruments. But that's quite interesting. So it's obviously a two-man aircraft. Again, a bit strange, isn't it, as a fighter, you know. But there we go. So then we've got like, okay, so it's a modular construction where we have a nose section. And you're going to build up the nose. And then you're going to bring the two halves and clamp in your gear bay well, which looks like it's got some quite significant fixing points, which is good. That looks quite sensibly done. And it's got round ones on one side and square ones on the other. Well, I like that. That's, again, so you can't mix it up or mess it up. That's sensible. Then you've got your rather odd canopies, which you've got very tiny windows. Again, I don't know what it is with the Soviet design in that time. They had, you know, huge canopies but tiny actual glass to look through. Whether it was because they didn't trust the, you know, the strength of the framework for the pressurisation, I'm not sure. But it's a theme that you see running through a lot of their aircraft. Then we have got the fuselage, and you're building that up. There's a top deck there to try and avoid some of the seam work. It looks like this. Well, actually, that's a bit confusing, isn't it? Here we go, the Chinese instructions. I was just about to say, it looks like this is a completely like slide moulded, but no, it isn't. D1 and D12. So you actually, it doesn't tell you, but you actually have to glue those together already. And there's your seam down the middle underneath. So that's a bit weird, because that's, you know, you're a relative beginner or newcomer is going to find that a bit confusing, I think. I seem to spend my life moaning about instructions, but they are. I was watching some other people on the live forum talking about this, and they were agreeing and saying they're a bit of an afterthought with a lot of manufacturers. They're not doing it well. Some do it brilliantly. These guys are not the best. Neither are most of the Chinese manufacturers, in fairness, and others, you know, Taiwan, etc. Anyway, engine intakes coming in here look fairly simple, don't they? To be honest, it's all very rudimentary stuff. Then you've got a little bit of PE going on here on the rings at the back for your jet pipes. I mean, the instructions are quite simple, I have to say, straightforward. Then we are going to have our main legs, which go in these nacelles under the wing, obviously because there's a lot of weight. They have them quite well outboard, about halfway, about a third of the way down the wing. So you put those nacelles in, then you put your top and bottom wing halves together, and you've got some flaps and ailerons, which is good. It's very good. And you've got to remember, this is at this scale, at 1/72 scale. It's quite nice to see flaps and ailerons. But then it's a big kit and it needs it. Then you're building up your engine pipes, jet pipes from the back of the engine, burner ring, and the actual pipe itself going in there. And then you pop those in, and then you bring your wing on from underneath, in fact. So that's quite interesting. So that should avoid some nasty seams and things, shouldn't it? It's quite a sensible design there. Then we've got a tail going in, complete with rudder, and we've got some strakes going on, PE strakes on the top of the wing, air fences I think they sometimes call them. It's just to stop the air from bleeding off at certain speeds and angles of attack, and to keep the pressure, to give you the lift you need on the inboard section of the wing. And then you get your tail planes and your tail being stuck on there, and a couple of PE aerials. And you're going to bring in your actual undercarriage gear, main gear I should say. Going into those nacelles we spoke about. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's quite a conventional wheel layout. And you've got your doors going on. It all looks very conventional stuff, this. Very straightforward. Main gear doors, and then you've got your 4 pylons as well. And then you've just got your weapons, that's it. It's very simple instructions, that's just not a bad thing. Yeah, you've got the experts among you, the I'm trying to think what the Russian ones are in this era. The names of them doesn't tell us, which is a bit of a shame. Very really straightforward stuff that. So I quite like the instructions, apart from that one thing where they've got 2 parts stuck together, which they don't even show being stuck together, which is very odd. That's a bit strange. It's like jumping ahead of themselves, as though somebody thought, yeah, they are 2 parts definitely. So very odd. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's have a look at the plastic then. Oh, hang on, sorry, we've got the colour callouts marking guide, which actually Trumpeter do quite well in fairness. It's nice and clear, fairly accurate sort of colours they show as well. Lots of opportunity for bare metal finishes, metallics I should say, and still doesn't tell us the name of the missile, is it? Arab. I'm trying to think of the Russian names for them. It doesn't tell us anywhere, which is just a shame. Again, a bit of a shortcut that they didn't, like a lot of these Chinese. Never mind. Let's focus on their smarts, what they do well. Let's have a look at what they got. Well, we'll start with the missiles as they've sort of popped up. Let's have a look at them. There they are. Get straight into the weaponry, because it might be good, you never know. But tricky to get out. A lot of sharp edges, that's why. Okay, so these are actually slide moulded in one piece. Not bad actually, not bad. Not quite as good as Great Wall Hobby that we've seen, like the SU-35, because you haven't got any sort of, they haven't benefited the part with the slide moulded tailpipe. It looks a bit plain. Can you see that? You can see the seam at the back. It hasn't got that sort of finesse. There's a definite seam down the middle. Hasn't got that sort of hollowness, but the actual shape of the missile is really nice. Look at that. So maybe just drill out the back end to make it have a bit more realism, but it's a shame that they didn't include that really, because they seem to have got quite a sophisticated moulding system going on, so I'm a bit puzzled really why they didn't do that. So there's 2 of those obviously. Well, I say that, are they the same type or the other type? No, they're the same I think, aren't they? So they're showing on that particular set of sprues, it's just 4 of the same. I'm really struggling to get it back in. Right, nice, very nice. Just not quite as as fancy as we've seen from people like Great Wall Hobby. Right, now then, we have got some photo etch, which I'll leave in its bag because I don't think there's any point in bringing this out really. Well, that looks quite nice. So it's the air fences we spoke of on the wing, tailpipe, surround, and a couple of these little aerials, and that's it really. So they didn't go crazy on it, unfortunately, but it looks nice. It's quite thick though. It really is thick actually. That's about 2mm. Yeah, that's quite a thick. That's like the Tamiya photo etch of old. So just be aware. You need your bending equipment for that, I think. Then we have got all manner of things. So let me zoom you out. We have got the fuselage section, nose section. Let's try that. Again, we're going to have to open the bag, I think. Yes, we are. So we'll just open one, not both, because it's just a mirror image itself. Okay. Oh no, this is quite nice. Let's have a look at this. We've got some nice detail here. You can see some very nice panel lining and riveting detail here. So, here we've got the nose. Look at all the access hatches, panels. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, is there? That's nice. Very fine detail here. No, it's really well moulded actually. That's very nice. And the other side is just the mirror image of it, so that's the same. There's nothing wrong with that. That's quite a nice finish. It's got this sort of a satiny finish. It's not a matte finish like an Airfix kit. Plastic's quite fairly hard plastic, I would say. Pop that back in there. Then we have got our Okay, I'm going to have to open this as well, I think. Very gently. Got our ailerons and flaps. Now then, again, very nicely melted this. I mean, this is looking promising because it certainly looks better at this stage than the Bear did, and you can see that there's another 15 years of technology that's gone into it. Because the quality of the finish is refined. You can see that here. Yeah, you can see the detail. There's no scuffing or burring in the mould. There's that a sink mark? No, it's just a blemish in the actual plastic itself, which you won't see when it's painted. Those are nice. You can't really find anything wrong with that. So that's a big step up from the Bear in terms of surface quality. And that's the Rudder, obviously. This one. Yeah, it's nice. Like that. No problem, it's looking positive. Fingers crossed we might get a half decent result with this one, you know. Trumpeter are going to subvert my expectations, which is a good thing. It's a shame that they're not resealable bags, but anyway, let's have a look. Now then. Going now then. We're getting somewhere here. Yes, it's looking very, very good. Some slightly strange surface quality there. Don't think it's actually. I think it's something just sitting on the surface. Perhaps some. Can you see that? I'm just noticing here. It's all a bit weird, isn't it? But it's not scuffed into the surface like it was on the Bear. I think it's some release agent or something that. Yeah, it is a bit strange. They do seem to have this thing about as though they don't quite get the mould right, and somebody goes in and starts playing around, scuffing away at the mould. But I think that's going to be something that. Yeah, there's more of it actually. Ooh, here we go. Can you see it? Here and here. Oops, there and there. We have got some rather strange surface quality. I don't think you can feel it, so I think you're going to be okay, to be honest. But they just don't seem to be able to get a consistent finish, do they? Right across the, you know, the mould. But the quality of the actual part is beautiful. There's some lovely detail there. Look at the little panel lines and little flaps and access hatches. And then you've got your braces for your aileron control points and fittings. That's good. A little bit annoyed about that, but it's not a big deal because I can't feel it. So if you can't feel it, you can always rub it, put a primer on it, it'll just vanish. So we won't dwell on that. Plenty of little doors here, and they're avoiding ejector pins by having all these little lugs, ejector lugs on the outside you cut off, which is always a good thing. We've got nice tail planes, plenty of detail there. The surface quality here seems okay. I just think Trumpeter need to work a little bit on their finishing before they start pumping out the plastic. They need to just clean the moulds and make sure they're really got a nice even finish to them. Ejector pins on the back, no problems there, but yeah, just an observation. I don't know if that's going to cause any problems in actually constructing the kit. Don't think it would actually be visible when it's been painted up, so we won't worry too much. We'll move on to the next one. What have we got here? We have got a lot of fuselage and undercarriage parts. Let's try and do this subtly again if we can. There we are. Actually, the shaping of this reminds me a little bit of TSR2 underneath here. It really does. It's just, you know, the similar sort of scale and engine setup in terms of positioning in the aircraft. Now, we talked about the wheels, some aftermarket wheels here. Now, these aftermarket wheels are from a company called Armory Models Group, and they are made in the Ukraine, and they have got some replacement wheels. Now, I haven't got my biggest glasses on, but I'm not seeing a huge difference here. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom you in, see if you can see. You might see better than I can actually when I zoom in the cameras. Camera's lens is better than my eyesight. They look good, but they don't look massively different to me from the kit wheels. Oh yeah, there is a little bit more detail. There's things like the pressure valve for the tyre that isn't really visible on the kit wheel. So there are, yeah, okay. But it's not as, the difference is not quite as pronounced. I don't know if you can make this out on the camera. The difference is not as pronounced as we often get, you know, normally when you get resin wheels, especially they're usually night and day. I wouldn't say that they are the most, perhaps not the most inspiring design of wheel on the real aircraft is part of the problem. But they don't jump out at me as being superior, if I'm honest. Anyway, we'll pop this down there. And then we've got some undercarriage gear. And I have to say, there's no slightly unusual shape to this sprue. It's like a slightly, it's not quite rectangular. It's got a lean to it, but no worry, it's not a problem on the parts. The parts look really nice. Look at some of the detail here. No flash at all here. Trumpeter have done quite a decent job with this kit, I think. Certainly better than the others I've seen recently. That's got some lovely, very sharp moulding, you know, on these gear legs. Can't see a problem there at all. Nice, 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 nice. Then we've got the instrument panel, and we've got the standard nose wheels and tyres, which, as I've said, they're not hugely better on than resin. It's quite a simple sort of style of wheel, that's probably why it's not quite so noticeable. Then we've got the cockpit tub here, plenty of detail on the sides, all the switches and panels. And then here we've got these pylons for the hard points. And then you've got your rear seat instruments. All in all, that's a nice sprue, I've got to say. There's some lovely detail. I mean, this underside I mentioned, it's like TSR2. Look at some of the details here. You can see a lot of hatches, rivets, panel lines. Very nice. It's good. Very good. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot more than the bear, if I'm honest. Now. Don't think we really need to open this bag that much because it's only got a few parts in it anyway. We've got the seats here, they're quite decent, aren't they? Ejector seats. They look alright. Yeah, quite like those actually. Very chunky, aren't they? Big high sides, high thigh sides and high sides at the shoulder. Lots of side protection. And these standard wheels that we talked about. Okay, now let's have a look at these wings. Because these are quite a big meteor wing. Anyway. Okay. Wings on the tail. Oh, now this is better. Quality of this looks bob on. Let's have a look at this. Tail first of all. Look at that. That's nice. Beautiful riveting. Really, really sharp. Bit of a treat this. Trumpeter have improved, and there's no question. Look at that. It's really fine. Lovely engraving. Little hatches all engraved in there. But the riveting is fantastic. That's really nice. And the plastic feels better as well. On the bear it was very much like an old school Airfix thing, but this feels a bit more almost Tamiya like, the feel of the plastic. It's quite rigid and it's quite hard, I'd say, you know. Then we've got these pipes, which they've been basically slide molded because they've got internal detail. So those are quite nice, got to say. Can't fault that. You've got quite a lot of pipe trunking going on there. And then you've got the wing, and the wing is beautiful, really. I'm going to have to bring you out, it's so big. But look at that. That's really nice. I mean, that's as good as Great Wall Hobby, I'd say. That's really, really good. It's got a nice even finish, unlike that other part we looked at, the underneath part, which has got some questionable finishing on it. And it's funny actually, it's just reminded me of something. I'm just going to make a point here. That's just brought to mind. When I criticised the bear, if you remember, the horrible, badly finished mould was underneath. And it is again. It's as though that the man who's responsible for doing the underneath finishing isn't very good. Because this is the top of the wing, and on the Bear the top of the wing was fine, no problem at all. It was underneath, it was really hideous. So I wonder, they need to do some investigating and find out who the man is that cleans up the moulds for the underside of the wings, and maybe have a little talk with him. No violence, just a little talk, you know. But that's really nice. I mean, that is Great Wall hobby standard, I think. That's really, really nice. And even these burner rings here, they're really well done. Look at this. That's been done very finely. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Nothing wrong with that at all. Really looks quite exquisitely done. Okay, yeah, compressor blade. Fairly basic looking, you know, but they're up a tube, you hardly see them anyway. But the important parts, you know, like around this wing, some really, really superb detail there, and not any nasty finishing excuse me, that we've seen elsewhere. Very good, like it. Looking good. It's going to get more than 6.5 out of 10, I think, this one. Right, now the fuselage. Excuse me. Right, now then, what have we got? Yes, again, very, very, very nice. Look at the little vents and grills that you've got here. Whoops, where have we gone? Lost you. Vents and grills. And lots of little access panels here. And some really nice riveting. And it's sort of consistently well finished. You know, the panel lines don't fade away, or they're not inconsistent. They are good at the side and underneath, which is what you want to see. Same on the other side. Very, very nicely finished. It's pretty flawless, actually, that, to be honest. Even the riveting here on the outer intakes, engine intakes, again, really nicely done. Very, very scale-like as well. And you've got your sort of flow modifiers for the intake here. That helps to sort of slow down what they do. These things slow down the speed of the air coming into the engine intake. And then you've just got these couple of bits from the nacelles. Well, that's really good. And again, there's no flash, there's no short shots or weird looking, oddly moulded parts. The quality of the moulding is very, very high. So far, so good. And then last but not least, we have got the clear parts. Now, don't let us down there, Trumpeter, come on. You're heading up the scale here. Aha, and of course you've got to remember, as I mentioned earlier, these clear parts, these canopy parts, they're a bit like the Vulcan. They have a lot of canopy, but very little of it you can actually see through, so some of it is frosted, as you can see. Complete with a little windscreen wiper on it, I think it's got there. Yep, that's nice. And it's nicely moulded, and the frosting looks really good, actually. Yeah, it's good. Okay. It's crazy though, isn't it? These tiny windows that they've got to squint through, you know. It's got all this area, you know. It's clearly to do with strength and how confident they were about having a big piece of glass, I think. But they're nice and clear, and very, very nicely moulded. The clear parts especially. Well, do you know what? I think Trumpeter finally won me over with something, because I think this is pretty good kit, yeah. And in marked contrast to the Bear, I know the Bear is big and there aren't many other options for a Bear, but this is the problem with some of the manufacturers, I think. You know, it's the same with Airfix with the Vulcan before they finally decided to retool it. You know, if there's no competition, then you can get away with all sorts of poor quality, and I don't like that myself. It's not something I think is acceptable. But that kit is really, really good, and it's probably the nicest Trumpeter model I've seen for a while, certainly aircraft. So, I don't like the instructions too much. I think we needed much more information about the aircraft. We have got some weird scuffing and stuff still going on the moulding, but it's not going to cause you a problem. It's underneath, but also you can't really feel it, so I think it'll just disappear. A quick rub with the sanding stick and I think a bit of primer and it'll just vanish. Other than that, it's really nice, and it's quite an accurate looking, you know, rendition of all the panels and the rivets, and it's going to end up looking like and with a wash on it, it'll end up looking a really meaty Soviet fighter. I still can't get my head around that it's a fighter though. It just doesn't look like a fighter. It's massive, 43 tons it weighs. Crazy. Anyway, in summary, that is a really nice kit, and it's night and day better than the Bear. I think it really is. The moulding quality, the overall sort of attention to detail is excellent. So I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. I think it's fair. I think there's still some shortcomings with the instructions and things, the presentation's poor, but the kit itself is really nice. So I think 8.5 out of 10 is a great result. That's certainly the best Trumpeter rating I've ever given, I think, so well done to them. Let's hope they get some more interesting stuff coming out, because they are interesting subjects, these, aren't they? These Soviet era odd fighters, and you know, you look at them and you think, is it a fighter or a bomber? I need to go and check the name, you know, because it's just not obvious in the way that a Western aircraft you can almost guess straight away. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting. Please give us a thumbs up, give us at least 8.5 out of 10 with a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to do so, because then you see the next video coming up will be, you get early warning of that. And don't forget to click the notification bell to make sure you get the early warning. Feel free to comment, always like your comments. People sometimes disagree with my assumptions, or not assumptions, but my sort of personal opinions. That's absolutely fine, because we all have different priorities, or sometimes people have got experience of building the kit, and that's most important, and I always sort of defer to someone who's built it. But I think that'll build up nice. It looks, I don't know what the fit's like obviously, but it looks like a nice kit. I think it'll go together pretty well. You can really get cracking with the metal finishes and you have some fun with it, you know. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Look forward to another one coming up soon, and in the meantime, thanks a lot. Take care of yourself, stay safe, and until next time, bye for now.